Hello and welcome to the Thrive with Dr. Lee Hildebrand YouTube channel today. I am looking forward to addressing a topic that is very important for all of us that are parents in understanding how to best love our children. I'm going to be addressing today the two loves every child needs, why both kindness and boundaries shape healthy kids. As I get into this topic, I want to identify that most parents can tend to lean one way or another. Either they want to be the most deeply loving parent and validating and making sure that their kids, feel their love all the time in that soothing kind of way, or sometimes parents lean toward a focus on discipline and structure, that they're really passionate about making sure that that kid is going to have that scaffolding that they need, and maybe they're a little lighter on some of the kindness and validating aspects. But what if the healthiest kids don't come from one or the other of these, but from both? I really want to introduce a concept today of what I would like to call the two types of crucial love. One type of love is the love of caring, providing warmth, giving validation and connection to our children. And the second type of love, which is just as important, is providing discipline and boundaries, setting limits with our children and helping them understand how to navigate those, challenging them in appropriate and healthy ways for them to grow. So today in this video, I'd like to show you why children need both of these and what happens when one of them is missing. Now, in regard to the science of parenting, in looking at these two core dimensions, there's a style of parenting that's called authoritative parenting. And this, in a lot of research by Diana Baumrind, has been shown to be the most effective. And there's two key dimensions to this approach. And one is what I said earlier, that responsiveness, that warmth, and that attunement. And the second is providing demandingness, or structure and expectations. And it's crucial to know that if a child receives too much of one of these out of balance with the other, it can lead to challenges and trouble. Now, kids that receive a good intermixing of both of these often show in research that they have better emotional regulation, stronger relationships, and higher academic success. So let's start with the first type of love and dive into more of what that is. The love of care, a warmth, validation, the connection type of love. This is the kind of love that tells a child, you are safe, you are seen, you matter to me. And what it looks like, it consists of emotional validation. It also consists of physical affection, giving those hugs, having the eye contact with our children, our eyes that say, hey, I got you, I love you, I'm here for you. And then another component of that is active listening without trying to fix their problems, showing them that their feelings, that their experience is important, and providing the kind of listening that they're going to appreciate. There's a lot of research support for this, and parental warmth is linked to definitely better emotional health and stronger relationships in life, as well as life satisfaction. Now, an example of this in some situations, for example, let's say your child at a young age starts melting down. A really aggressive response might be stop crying, or there's an old classic response, which many of us would agree is not healthy, which is I'll give you something to cry about. A better response to that from this warmth type of standpoint would be identifying with the feeling, saying, boy, that was really disappointing, wasn't it? Or let's say your teenager shuts down and they're internalizing and they're not as open to talking. Instead of potentially saying a more aggressive approach like, what's your problem? Or that's ridiculous. To give more of a communication that has that warm style that would be, I'm here when you're ready to talk. So, some of the takeaways from this are, if we approach our children with this first component of love, that they are going to experience some trust and emotional security. Now, albeit this is a crucial aspect of love, sometimes parents make the mistake of overcompensating and focusing so much on the warmth type of love, they become afraid that their child is not going to like them, or that they're going to hurt their child if they implement discipline and accountability. So the second type of love is the love of limits. This is discipline, boundaries, and structure. This is the love that says, I care enough about you to guide you even when it's hard. This is the love that says, I'm not here at this stage to be your best friend. I'm here to be your parent. And part of that is setting expectations. It's very important that we set expectations. For instance, when my children were small, sometimes they would engage in behavior like biting or hitting. And it's important to let them know at that point, no hitting, no biting, and being consistent in terms of following through on that expectation. It's crucial with children of all ages to have consistent and well communicated expectations, as well as consistent consequences. And it's important in your follow through to do this without anger. You know, we can take a situation, and all of us as parents have experienced times where we have felt like we're going to lose our cool, or this is so hard to navigate that I'm just so frustrated. It's crucial that when we approach our kids in these situations, that we try to stay in an adult mode, that we communicate with clarity when we're following through, and that we're consistent. If we say that we're going to do something and we set a perimeter or a boundary, we have to follow through. If we are not at a pretty high percentage consistent with that, and we just give in, we're going to create a problem in that they're not going to think we have credibility. They're not going to believe you in regard to limits that you may set and set. Now, there's research support for this showing that structure and boundaries help children. They help children in developing self-regulation. They assist them in making better decisions. And it also, in research, has shown that they avoid more risky behaviors than children that do not receive this. So, for example, let's take some examples from this arena. Let's say your child is hitting a sibling. A more passive approach might be to kind of ignore or just say, stop that, in a passive way. A more appropriately assertive approach would say, hey, I won't let you hit. You need to go take a time out and take a break and to deal with the situation. Or, for example, if your teenager misses curfew, instead of lecturing them when they get home and getting really animated and whatnot, is to recommunicate the expectations. Hey, we agreed that you were going to be on time. We've set these expectations, and therefore, since you did not meet that expectation, you're going to lose a privilege in this area. You might pick an area. It might be their cell phone use. It might be that they're not able to go out the next night. It's important. The takeaway here is limits help build self-control. They help build safety and responsibility for our children. If we do not love them in this way, that is a problem also. Now, in the same way I said about warmth, if we go overboard and everything is serious, everything is about setting discipline, and there's not the warmth and affection side of love, then children can become resentful. They can feel like their feelings are not valid. They can feel like they're not allowed to have feelings or emotions about situations. And that can be an overcorrect in that direction. So let's take a look at the integration of these two. Why do kids need both in regard to this? They need warmth and they need the limits with the warmth. Warmth without limits is called permissive parenting. Kids feel loved, but they feel a lack of direction. It can breed anxiety in kids when they do not feel like there's proper guardrails and structure to help them in their growth. Limits without warmth or authoritarian parenting can become a problem because kids will comply but feel emotionally disconnected. So permissive parenting and authoritarian parenting are not helpful, but the optimal is authoritative parenting, and there's a lot of research to back this up. So in terms of thinking about this, we may think, hey, love without limits creates anxiety. Limits without love create resentment. But love plus limits create resilience. We want our children to have resilience. We want them to understand boundaries. We want them to understand that they're valued and loved and that they are enough, that they don't have to feel shame like they don't measure up in terms of the very person that they are, while simultaneously helping them understand to respond to expectation. Let's take a couple real life integrated examples. For instance, what if your child refuses to go to bed? Many parents have this situation. And let's talk about how we can do this in an integrated fashion. Well, step one is to validate them in their feelings. Look, I know you'd like to have more time. Look, I know you'd love to stay up till such and such a time. And then the second step is to set the boundary. However, I know that you're going to need to get up for school tomorrow and be on time for school. So therefore, it's still it's still bedtime. And the third step is stay calm and be consistent in terms of the execution of bedtime. Now, I've known situations in parents that will sometimes overcorrect on the warmth, and they'll do a whole machinations of reinforcement with their children in regard to bedtime. They'll be sleeping with them on the couch down, of all ages, even not just babies we're talking about here. It could be 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds. They're trying to get them to go to sleep on the couch downstairs, and then they're carrying up, and then sometimes the mom or the dad is sleeping on the floor of their bedroom because the child gets too anxious if they go away. An important aspect of us helping our children is to help them to self-regulate. And part of self-regulation, I'm not saying when they're an infant, right? But part of that self-regulation is allowing them those opportunities to contend with some of the anxiety or the emotions of not having mom or dad right there. And obviously this is a progressive process in helping children. So let's talk about some practice takeaways in regard to this. There's some actionable tools that you can use and some ways to approach this. Number one, think about it this way: connect with them before you correct them. Name the emotion, and then you can hold the boundary. Stay calm, and this regulation can teach them how to regulate themselves and stay calm. And very importantly, explain the why behind the rules. This builds a sense of fairness and internal motivation for your children, and it doesn't mean that they're going to agree with either the rules or the rationale. And think about discipline as teaching and guiding, not punishing. So as we close and think about that, I want to emphasize your child doesn't just need love, they need the right kinds of love. The goal isn't perfection here, it's balance. It's balance between this more soothing and warm type of love and this corrective, giving boundaries and discipline type of love. We're not seeking to just raise compliant kids. We want to raise resilient and emotionally healthy human beings that can function in the world. And in regard to parents specifically, sometimes I see situations where parents get frustrated with the other parent's style. And sometimes they assume that, look, we have to be on exactly the same page. Let me emphasize, you do not have to be on the same page with your partner or your spouse. You just have to be in the same chapter. There's qualities that you have and your spouse has that are going to be helpful to your children even if your style is different. Now, the obvious exceptions here are the extremes of complete neglect, abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, extreme verbal abuse, swearing at them, calling them names, things of that nature. But within the realm of stylistic calls, if you will, it's okay if, for instance, you as a mother may be a little leaning toward the warmth side, and dad leans a bit more toward the discipline side. As we've talked about, the kids are going to need a balance of both of those. So you can not only think about these principles in regard to yourself as a parent, but you think about it toward the overall milieu of yourself as a parenting pair. That's okay if there's some balancing out. Your husband or your wife doesn't have to do it exactly the way you do. And recognizing that you can be in the same chapter and that you do not have to be exactly on the same page can really help in terms of reducing conflict, having compassion for one another, working together as a team. So as I close the video today, I hope it's been helpful. Think about it this way. In your life, stay aspirational, stay intentional, and choose to thrive, not just survive. If this has been helpful to you today, please feel free to like this video or share this with others. And if you'd like to, feel free to subscribe to my channel for many other videos on a whole range of topics that can help you continue to be intentional in your journey. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I wish you well. I wish you well in the process of learning how to parent with both love and guidance and discipline. Take care.